I started to see the world totally different, right? I started to see the world in seconds and not minutes.
Hey, this is Blake Sloan. I've been selling real estate over 14 years. Our team of highly trained professionals, along with our unmatched marketing, has sold thousands of homes here in the Myrtle Beach area, and this is how we do it.
Third piece of this is where it separates the men from the boys, the girls from the women, however you want to put that, right? This is the easy part. Super easy. People still don't do it. The key part here is accountable, meaning what? The work I do on 1 and 2 has to be executed. We don't get paid for ideas, we get paid for doing it. And specifically, we get paid when it's done, right? So the first part of that's the simplest. Number 1, it's got to be kept. It's got to be held like an appointment that I had yes or no at the end. Did I take the time to keep the appointment with myself? So just because, like the first layer when we teach people this is, I got to teach you to put it in your calendar. But the second thing that gets lost, because this is where the discipline piece comes in, is we help you set up a calendar, and then what happens?
You don't use it.
You don't use it. You don't yes, you don't use it, right? So you have this beautiful calendar of all these things. That's why your calendar has to be in my opinion, dynamic. If you plan out every minute of the day, right, and your business is dynamic, you're not going to trust and keep that appointment. So 80% of it can be pre-blocked, very specific, but make sure you're able to change that a little bit, meaning that I have to keep the appointment with myself. Very, very important in that aspect. The number one most powerful personal discipline in all of the world is, and how it can make you successful by your wildest dreams. And it talks about, and Dan Kennedy said, he believes a person who cannot keep their appointments on time, cannot keep a schedule commitment, and cannot stick to a schedule, cannot be trusted in other ways. Meaning that if I can't keep my promise to myself, I can't be trusted in anything I do. That comes down to what? My certainty. My ability to execute and how I come through when I do. So the key part here is have to have the discipline to have it kept. Super important, right? Second piece is accountable. You have to be honest. As part of that first discipline, I have to be honest. What do you think that means?
Did you actually make your dials?
Yes. Did I actually do it? And really, did I do what I had in there? Because it's so easy for us to kind of twist that up sometimes and be like, well, I kind of did that. I kind of sent that message. I kind of did, whatever it is. I've got to be fully 100% real with myself on did I do the specific item that I had in there? Did I keep the appointment? Subconscious thing where it's a slippery slope. So if I let myself off the hook, it's much easier to let myself off the hook the next time, and the next time, and the next time until it's really devalued and diluted so much that I don't even really care anymore. I don't really have any oomph in my enforcement. And so I've got to make sure I'm honest with myself because this is the piece of me that I allow myself to self-correct. Are you going to be 100% all the time, every time? Not really, right? But if I can nail that 89% of the time, I'm going to make a hell of a lot more money than I am right now. Right? Does that make sense to you guys? Super, super important there in that aspect. Third piece, this is where it makes or breaks it, is I've got to be consistent. So our business has such a long sales cycle that this has got to be done consistently for a long period of time. So I'm not selling cars at the car lot where I can go in and knock out 2 or 3 cars in a day, right? Or a timeshare where I can knock out 2 or 3 sales in a day. This is a long-term process with a longer sales cycle, so my consistency has to be on point much longer and much more efficiently. Now, add on top of that, what do you think stops consistency? So the one thing I was looking at, those are all right, and they're all, I think, different levels, is one is adversity, right? When I have adversity in my business and things happen, what do people tend to do? They throw all the shit out the window, the plan's out the window. It's like Mike Tyson said, right? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And then all of a sudden, the game's on. The game's different. What most people do is they fold and they lose their consistency. That's why I get on you guys so much if I see somebody drifting and not show up to meetings or this or that, because the consistency is what eats you up. And then what happens is you can never build the momentum to get through the sales cycle long enough to get results. Does that make sense? And the best one we talked about was that old Zig Ziglar analogy where you have this old well and you pump the water out the well, right? So I pump the water out the well. What happens in the beginning? Nothing that I can see. But I can't see the water coming up from hundreds of feet in the ground slowly up that pipe. But my consistency allows me to do what? Once I get the water out the pipe, if I just keep pumping, what happens? The water keeps coming. And so I've got to make sure that the consistency in my accountability here matters, and I've got to hold myself accountable. In a way that measures, like how many days this week did I stay on track? Am I staying on track with that? This is kind of the secret recipe of that because I watch it all the time. And I literally look at patterns. And I mention this all the time. I don't really look at what people say. I watch what they do. Because like Amanda mentioned, everybody's in habits and patterns. But you can watch based on when you hit your win and how it happens, what's happening with their patterns. And so consistency matters the most. And I'll talk about that in a minute why. It's very, very important for us to make sure we do it. Does that make sense here? Very, very important. Last piece here. My accountability. I must be willing to question. What do you think that means? I want to be obsessed with my holes. Where am I missing opportunity? Where am I missing per minute? Where am I missing? You guys notice me? I'm leaving at lunch the same exact time almost every single day. Leave the office, same exact time almost every single day. Right? There's time, obviously, when things were a little different with a little bit of chaos, but everything's coming down to that. But you got to make sure I'm very, very focused on that time. And the one thing I want you guys to write down, the goal here, why this question is you want to ask yourself, am I in peak personal production? Am I truly in peak personal production in regards to what I'm doing? And there's a very specific question I want you guys to ask. Is what I'm doing this minute moving me towards my measurable goal? The more I ask myself this question, the more obsessed I'm going to be with my time management. Now, why does any of this matter and what's going to make or break me actually doing it? All this has got to be tied back so you've got to attach and basically connect these items here with your why. And you're doing it. And I remember the long time I did the same thing. I was building for a family I didn't even see yet. You know why? Because I don't want to be like my parents that didn't have money and fall over money and get divorced. That was my why. Watch my parents fight about money my whole life. Watch them not have what they want. And I watched them ultimately get divorced over money. So I made a decision one day that I wasn't going to do that. And every time in the beginning when things suck, things are painful, guess what I thought about? I'm never going to be the guy that can't provide for my family and have my kids experience me fight over money. And so that attachment has got to happen and got to happen here for these to be together. And so I'm struggling with that. What do you got to do? Go back and find a bigger why, a deeper why. But the connection is I got to connect them two pieces together why that matters. You guys with me on this? Yeah. Very, very important. You got to put it on your computer screen too. That's something I did. I gave you guys an example of my Maserati. Put it on my computer screen, a white one, for years. It reminded me that this weekend I saw a guy and he asked me about my watch. And he knew about it was at a graduation party for our neighbor. And my other neighbor said, hey man, I like that watch. Is that, a Super Ocean? I said, yeah. He goes, I got that on my computer screen right now. And I was like, man, that was a great reminder to do what? Attach whatever it is to your why to make sure you're sticking with these in what you're doing. Hack that against yourself is super important. That's how I hold myself accountable. But I got to be willing to question. Got to be willing to question myself. Which means what? Call myself out, right? I got to be willing to call myself out daily because it's hard. Very, very hard. Last piece is obsessed. What do you guys think that means? This is where the layers come in. This is where you start to really get and see things in a different way. I start to see the world totally different. Right? I start to see the world in seconds and not minutes. That's the key piece here. Number one, I've got to get to where I feel time. Like I mentioned in my morning routine, certain things, I can look and tell, and I've gotten to this game where I know exactly what minute it is without looking at the clock. And I double check myself on my phone, it's usually 1 or 2 minutes off, if it's not right on point. And so I want to get to where I feel it. What does that start with? This piece right here. The more I can obsess with what my value is per hour and my skill set and what I'm able to get to, the more attention I'm going to put to here and understanding how important that time is. Very important. But here's the other key part. I wrote this down too. If you don't know what your time is worth, you can't expect the world to know either. If you don't know what your time is worth, you can't expect the world to know either. And so I've got to be able to be obsessed with understanding the feeling what my time is, what matters the most. Second piece. This is important. I must have rituals. Or I also wrote down rhythm. This is one of the biggest hacks ever. Rituals or rhythm. What do you think that means? The number one way to hack my brain, and I learned this a lot through books and everything else that's really anchored in me with Garrett, is same time, same place, every day. Same time, same place, every day. Why does that matter? It's a way for me to hack my subconscious. So if I make phone calls for 100 days straight at the same exact time, on the 101st day I don't make calls that time, what happens? I feel way off. Something's not right. I don't necessarily go to the gym anymore to go to the gym. I go to the gym because I hate the feeling it goes when I don't go to the gym. Right? It's got to be a ritual where I've trained myself subconsciously. The same thing happens the same way every single time. And we talk about this where you're better. And in that video this morning, ironically, it talked about that too, where if anybody watched that video I shared, talked about athletes will do the same exact thing and eat the same exact food before the same exact games or game times they have based on what it is. To what? Get themselves into a peak mindset that makes difference, but rhythm matters more than anything. They do it in Super Bowl winners in sports, think it matters in business? 100%, right? This is what helps protect you against your ups and downs. So if I have the same time, same place every day, today, I don't feel good. I feel like, right? But guess what? I have a morning routine. Gym this morning, 6 a.m. I didn't sleep very good last night. Because I'm sick, coughing, all this. Took NyQuil, still didn't work. Right? Sweating, whatever. But the difference is what? Ritual. Gym in the morning. Machine happens. And guess what? Once you're in that rhythm, it tends to just happen more naturally. Because why? You do it every day. Right? And you move through that machine in regards to what it makes a big, big difference. I'm going to teach you this in a minute. Why it's super important. This is what makes you elite, is having a rhythm in what you do. Now, here's the crazy part about that. What's hard about that?
Starting it.
Keep going. What else? Doing it. A lot of top producers, a lot of very charismatic people, guess what they hate? The mundane. Much better to go out and use my natural talents and tell you how cool and you should buy this, do this, and guess what they hate though? Mundane and discipline. They rely on their natural abilities their whole life. But they'll never get to the elite level because why? They can't master the mundane. One thing in business, you want to make lots of money in business, you master the mundane. Master the mundane. Because that's what separates the masses from everyone else. Why? Because they can't do it. Anybody can do something for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but let me see you show up for months and months on the time. Same thing with us in our 615 class. How many people do you see come and go there? Hundreds. Why? Because they can't master the mundane and have that built in. So you need to sell yourself on mastering the mundane and having rhythm. That's what makes or breaks everything in that aspect. Third piece of this is important. Must find and kill all vampires. Find and kill all vampires. What do you think that means?
Suck your time and energy out of you.
There are tons of time vampires who suck your time and energy out of you. Your energy, your happiness, right? Your will. And you got to do what? Find it and kill it. It could be coworkers, which is why we have no negativity. If you take your negative in somebody else's office, you just fuck their day up and you just suck the blood out of them for them to get what they need to get done. Period. Take that to leadership, right? On the flip side, if you have clients who are doing that, guess what you got to do?
Stop it.
Be able to stop that first, hopefully, which is have a conversation with them, pre-frame them, teach them. If not, then at that point you may have to let them go. You've got to understand the importance of my time, what it is. This could also be what? The social media swamp. I often see this all the time. I watch people who argue with people on Facebook and all this stuff. Guess what that shows me? They don't value their time. They don't value their time. They don't do these certain things. It's very important that I got to be what? The social media swamp's a big part of this. Sometimes politics can be a part of this. I catch myself, I've got to be 100% obsessed with what my time vampire is out. Now, that could also be what? Things I do in my business every day. Where are my inefficiencies? Where am I getting stuck reacting? Where am I doing things that are costing me? That's a time vampire. In the book, I got this from Dan Kennedy a long time ago, No BS Time Management. He says every time that you have someone come in your office, do certain things, I want you to visualize them around your back, sucking your blood out of your throat because they're taking away your ability to produce. Which is super, super important to make sure you're doing there, right? So make sure that you're allowed. Here's a key thing that I wrote down too. Vampires will suck as much blood out of you as you permit. If you're drained by days in, it's your fault. I wrote this part down too. That was kind of the second part of it. So time vampires are needy, thirsty, selfish, and vicious creatures who, given an opportunity, will suck up all your time and energy, leave you weak and debilitated. That can be a client or a needy client or someone who else, and that's one thing that here's where people fall into that trap. They're the ones that call you. Why is that? Leads worse than that, but what else? What do you notice about lead quality? What's that?
Nobody else will get one.
Yes. The ones that call you the most, the easy ones that call that money phone a lot of times, guess what? They're probably $100,000 trailer for a reason. And the reason they're calling you is because what? No one else wants to talk to them. And so that's why if you're not proactive in your time management for your new dials, you'll get stuck with these time vampires. That's what happens at the beginning a lot of times. You get these clients who are very difficult because you spend your time reacting out on offense finding new ones. And so what I found though is once I got enough clients in my bucket where I didn't give it and I had certainty, then they started listening to me and following me anyways. The last piece here, super important, is I must constantly be obsessed with optimizing. I'm obsessed with every single piece of my business and what's working and not working. I put so much of my energy now into what's figuring out what's not working and finding it, hunting it down and killing it. So we talked about, the schedules, and Alex talked about the schedules and stuff yesterday, right? Of who's here and Patrick being here. And I just, the whole group in general, the office is gone about 3 o'clock-ish, right? Everyone. And some are showing stuff, which is fine. But my point was, I think Alex's point was, when 99% of people are gone, not everyone is showing stuff. But here's the thing. If I am showing stuff and I'm actually doing it and I'm not getting the bails, what do I need to do? I got to be obsessed with where am I going to optimize, where am I missing it? And so this is the gift that I can teach you that keeps on going, because even though if I'm doing the basic part here and I'm still not getting what matters the most, which is the result, what I got to do? I got to be willing to question myself inside and say, where am I missing? Am I not pushing my people hard enough? Or is it me not making the good enough offers? Or am I not moving fast enough? Or is it a combination of all of them?
Some of the buyers you're working with, too.
It could be in that regard. So I got to make sure to do what, because here's the thing. Real estate's complicated. There's no one manual that's going to teach you guys all this, which is why we're always training, because you may hear it this time and it actually matters to you because you're experiencing the same pain. Sometimes it takes hearing it 7, 8 times, but where this goes down from, like Barry mentioned, to the monitors. If I'm still working on one monitor, 6 months later, dude, guess what? You just lost a lot of stuff. You go invest $150, get a monitor. Those things matter though, because I got to create leverage. Like you mentioned, phone number's not working. Spend $20 a month, get a second phone number that works for your cell phone.
Like a local number.
Call from 2 cell phone numbers. And so, quick couple tips on this. How do I help this? Is I must tame all interruptions here. I must get very good at taming all interruptions. What does that mean? It's a muscle. So when my phone vibrates, like some of y'all are talking about, like, man, that would drive me crazy to have 50 text messages, right? I don't give a f***. I got 300,000 emails, and I got like 300 unread texts. You know why? All I care about is getting optimized, not getting responsive that matters, right? I don't got time to go check my 212 meal reminder this week. I just mute that and keep going. Why? Because I'm obsessed with every second of every day. I don't care what my number says at the bottom. And so just have that obsession there of where do I eliminate these distractors? Because here's the thing. Your willpower will never outweigh your environment. I'll say it again. Your willpower will never outweigh your environment. Meaning that if I want to be a diet, and let's say I want to stop drinking, what I got to do? And take all the beer out of my fridge or wherever it is and liquor and throw that shit out. Right? Because the temptation is going to be there for any of those things there. Brandon, you took your phone off, your social off your phone, right? So that's the one thing that's super important for you guys to look at. A couple of key pieces here that I wanted. This is a really good one too. From the list part, this is really good that I got from Dan Kennedy, because he's just ruthless, dude. He's like ruthless in real person, real life. He wrote this down too in the book. He says, if you're not making lists, you're probably not making a lot of money either. I was like, Jesus, to think about that from like, list is what? Who I'm calling, what I'm doing, who's my lowest hanging fruit, what's happening, like that's what's got to matter, right? So it goes back to thinking linear versus what? Be intelligent about how I operate. Dan also says that the only real reason people aren't much more productive, they don't have enough reasons to be. Meaning that you got to what? Tie that to your why, which is super important. We talked about that. Last piece. You can't actually manage time. You can only manage yourself and those around you. You can't measure time, but you can measure those yourself and those around you. Meaning that what? I'll tell them, hey, I can't do this right now. I got my calls going on. Somebody come interrupt you during my calls, what happens? Up your momentum, your mojo, right? Be very, very specific in protecting that. Like, I'm on a call, dude. I got some shit to do, right? Whatever it is. Very, very important.